How's it going, guys? I'm Art Lasinick with theflyfishers.com, and today we're going to be tying the Glommer. It's a really fun, big hopper salmon fly type pattern. I picked it up when I was guiding on the Yellowstone River in Montana. For the hooks today for the Glommer, we're going to be using Daiichi 1750 size 6. It's a little bit beefier of a hook, so when those big fish come up and grab it, you know you're good to go. For thread, I like to use a little bit of a heavier thread. Danville's wax nylon works great. But anything that you can really crank on that thread and cinch the foam down is good to go. First step, you're going to start the thread about a 1/4 inch behind the eye and just wrap it all the way back. Doesn't matter how neatly you wrap it, as we're going to be covering the thread up with some tinsel. For the tinsel, I like to use a flashy, hollow tinsel. Today we're going to be using red, just because I find that trout out west seem to like red a lot, and this is where I primarily fish the Glommer. You're going to wrap this tinsel all the way to the front, where you started your thread wraps at. Doesn't have to be perfect, as it's just something to cover up the hook shank, so I never like to leave a bare hook shank. Let's tie the tinsel off. Cut off the excess. As opposed to hand cutting your foam, I like to use a foam body cutter set. In this case, we're using a Chernobyl ant style cutter. Boom. 1. And 2. As you can see, after using the foam body cutter set, our foam came out much cleaner and also much faster than using conventional scissors. After the tinsel, I'm going to take the foam we cut and just tie it in right where we started our thread wraps. Now, crank down on it pretty good because foam likes to slide around. Doesn't matter if it turns while you're tying it in, you can always straighten it. Alright. Then you're just going to slowly wrap it back. On these Glommers, I like to make a nice little beady, buggy looking body, about a 1/4 inch apart from each other. Straighten it out as you go. Alright. After the first piece of foam is attached, we're going to lay the second piece of foam right on top, cinch it down, a couple quick wraps with your thread, and then when you're wrapping it forward, make sure to do it real slow and neat so you don't have a sloppy thread wrap going all the way forward. Just like that. When you get to the front right here, another couple thread wraps, and then wrap it over one more time just to make the head real defined. Couple wraps. To make the hopper legs, you're going to take your rubber leg and tie 2 overhand knots in it. Make the loop, pass the tag end through, and cinch it down. To complete the rubber legs, we tie another knot about a hook shank length away from the first knot. Next up is adding the rubber legs. These are Rainey's shimmer legs, And I just tied an overhand knot on each side. Now slowly wrap your thread back one time to that knot you just made. Wrap it around once. And you're just going to pinch the rubber legs right in between the two pieces of foam. They'll kind of sit right in there. And just do a couple quick loose wraps. You never want to do real tight wraps with rubber legs because they're not too forgiving. So you can just slide it around real nice, get them positioned how you want them. One time on the other side as well. Kind of have to play with them a little bit to get them how you want. Clip off the excess on the legs. Oops. Good to go. The next step on the Glommer is to add a pinch of Krystal Flash right on the midsection here, and you're going to cut the Krystal Flash just about half as long as the Glommer itself. I'm using copper Krystal Flash. Just do a couple quick thread wraps, and this will lay down after we tie in the third piece of foam. Cut off the little stubs so they don't poke out on the sides of your foam. This helps to make it look real neat. After stacking a clump of elk hair, you're just going to lay it right over the Krystal Flash. Do a couple nice thread wraps on it just to make sure it's real nice and cinched down. Come back through, clip off the excess, just want to make sure that none of this is going to be sticking out too far. Final step is just going to add a third piece of foam right on top of the elk hair. Cinch it down. A couple nice thread wraps. And I'm just going to take my scissors and just cut the edges off and angle it a little bit. This just helps to give the fly a nice little finished effect. And I think it looks a lot better than just leaving it a square piece of foam on top. This last piece of foam is awesome just because it pushes down the elk hair and the Krystal Flash and kind of spreads it out, almost looks like wings. Finish the fly off here. Just going to whip finish a couple times. Once or twice is probably all you need on this. With all my foam patterns, I really like to glue them on, just because no matter how hard you cinch them down, foam always seems to slide around on the hook. And after you're all cinched down, I'm just going to spin them around here and do a real nice coating of Zap-A-Gap all the way from your last thread wrap up to the front of the shank. Make sure to get those thread wraps really saturated so your foam's not going to be sliding around at all. After you get them real wet and real saturated with that Zap-A-Gap, get this guy outside and do some fishing.